Hello, buddy. Welcome back to Tin Man's Core Channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor. Today I'm kicking off my Spooky Vibes reactions for 2026. And the first video I'm reacting to is 3 scary hospital horror stories. So without further ado, I'm going to turn these lights off, move the camera up here for you guys, and let's get this reaction on the road in the bag, shall we? Okay, here we go.
So maybe somebody listening here can help me with my situation. I'm a 29-year-old female working at a hospital in Philadelphia as a nurse. I've been at my job for almost 7 years now, and for the most part, everything's been fine, except for now. I work the night shifts, and about a month ago, we had a patient, David, who would continually say that he would have someone visiting him at night. He said this visitor was always dressed in full black, and that he had no face.
Okay, first of all, I applaud anybody that's working night shift as either a nurse or a doctor, but I don't know if I can handle that job because I know you have to work long hours and some of the patients will be sleeping anyway. But if you get a patient that keeps on saying that they keep seeing a shadow, looks like he's wearing a black coat and has no face, I'll be thinking something is off. It's almost like he's staring right into death itself, kind of like the Grim Reaper. But I don't know if that's what it is, so let's just continue on with this nurse's story and see what happens next, shall we?
Now, David was in his 90s, and he was dying from heart disease, so I told him that it was nothing to worry about, and that it was most likely just a dream. As the days went by, David went from saying that he was having a visitor at night to this visitor actually speaking with him. He would say that the visitor told him the person in room 109 was going to die. Again, I dismissed this as old age and that his mind was withering. Well, not shortly after this conversation, the patient in room 109 ended up jumping out of the window and falling to their death.
It's almost like this dark entity knew that this person was going to jump out the window and self-delete themselves. But I got a bad feeling that this dark presence must have had a talk with this patient too and told him to do that, or that patient just had enough with life. I don't know, but that is creepy. Another patient tried to warn you, and this happens.
It was horrible. I did find this extremely bizarre, but I thought there was no way it could be linked to this nightly visitor. Then, a few days after this happened, I was making my rounds at night. I was making sure David was okay when, this time, he told me the visitor told him that he was going to die next. A little bit freaked out, I tried my best to calm David down and tell him that would not happen. He was in good hands here at the hospital. Well, 2 days after that conversation, David was found dead in his room. The doctors ruled that it was cardiac arrest, but I actually witnessed the orderlies removing the body, and David's mouth was wide open, almost like whatever he saw last before he died was absolutely monstrous.
Oh, crap. That'd be scary for anybody to even think about yourself dying. But I guarantee you this dark shadow apparition visitor morphed into something terrifying to scare the crap out of David here and cause him to have a heart attack. That's why he had like a strange look on his face. Dang, that's one scary way to die. Literally being scared to death.
And now here's my problem. We have a new patient in David's room, a guy by the name of Jacob. We were speaking the other day when he told me that he's been having a visitor at night. He said that this visitor was dressed in all black and that he's faceless. He said the visitor says that I'm going to die next. Guys, this was literally 2 days ago, and I am absolutely losing my mind. I'm clearly still alive, but I am truly terrified for my life. If it was true for the patient in room 109, and true for David, why would it not be true for me? Please, help me.
Well, you don't want to wish it upon yourself, because that visitor will be coming to visit you and say you're going to die next, somehow or another. But it's kind of weird that he only visited room 109 and the room that this fellow David was in. It's almost like this dark entity has an attachment to both of them rooms. But that is creepy. I mean, I don't care what the boss of the hospital says, but I'll be calling in a priest to say whatever evil entity is causing these patients to die, you need to leave right now and like cast them out, because that's just not normal just to have one patient after another pass away like that. But let's get to story number 2, shall we?
I work at the hospital in the nursery, and this is by far the most terrifying experience that I've had working there. It was a Saturday in mid-June of 2019. We were really busy that month with mothers giving birth. Well, I was assigned to this one family, the Stewarts. It was the firstborn child, a little girl by the name of Lily. Mrs. Stewart's pregnancy went perfectly smooth, and there were no complications. All their aunts and uncles were there to celebrate as well, and it was a very beautiful moment. As a procedure, it's my job to take the newborn to our nursery to monitor their vitals and just to make sure that everything is okay before the child heads home. Well, I placed little Lily in our nursery bed and started to do some tests. She was a sweet angel, not even crying when, suddenly, a man walked in. At first I thought it was another nurse or doctor, but I had never seen this man before. He walked in confidently, like he knew what he was doing.
Working in the ward where mothers are giving birth would be tiring all day, but I know it's rewarding just seeing a new life enter the world and you helping them bring them out of the womb. But if you're doing tests on a baby in the nursery and a stranger just walks right on in and you don't know him, I'll be telling that person that he don't belong in there. Ask him what he wants, because I swear if this guy does anything harmful to these babies, I'm gonna lose it.
He made a beeline for little Lily and I. I started thinking this could be one of the uncles or relatives of the Stewarts, but even still, there was no visitors allowed back here. I started to say this to the man when he pulled out a knife. He told me to shut the fuck up, grabbed Lily out of the nursery bed, and sprinted out of the room. I screamed like a maniac and followed suit, not caring about my life at all. Our nursery is on the first floor, so when I exited the room, I could see this man making a beeline for the exit doors. I screamed for someone to stop that man. He's stealing a child. What happened next happened so fast that I could barely process it. Mr. Stewart was suddenly in front of the doors.
Oh, thank God. I cannot believe somebody would just walk right on in there, threaten a nurse with a knife, and steal a baby. Makes you wonder, was he trying to sell that baby on the black market or something? I don't know. But thank God Mr. Stewart showed up and stopping him from taking his child. Man, if I was the father, I'd be like telling him, you better give me my baby right back right now before I punch you down in the ground.
Blocking the exit with a gun raised and yelling for the man to get on the ground and put the child down slowly. The man did as he was told and was eventually laying flat on the ground with his hands sprawled out. I was going to call the police until I found out that Mr. Stewart was a police officer. And here's the crazier part. This wasn't just some random attempt at kidnapping. The man who tried to abduct Lily, who I will leave anonymous, had been previously arrested by Mr. Stewart and had served over 6 years in prison. When he was released and back on the streets, the first thing that he did was to enact revenge on the one who had put him in there. The kidnapper is now back in jail for at least another 10 years, I believe. But I'm glad that Lily and her family are okay, and I never want to experience something like that again in my life.
Thank God Mr. Stewart was a police officer because he was able to radio for backup. But really, kidnap his child because he arrested you? He probably was going to hold that little baby Lily for ransom, probably. But now his stupid butt is going to be in jail for another 10 years. Since he did this stupid act of trying to kidnap a child, a police officer's newborn. I mean, come on. Well, once that man is down, I'll be telling the nurse to go grab the baby and take it back to the nursery just to check everything over quick. I'm just glad that both this nurse and the Stewart family are okay and their baby is safe.
I've worked as a doctor in the ER for over 10 years now, and this story absolutely takes the top spot as the most terrifying thing that I've experienced. And as I said, I'm an ER doctor. I usually work the late night shifts, and believe me, you see some crazy shit at these times. But in this story, it was a slow night. I was in my office, working on some files, when I got a call to the ER room ASAP. When I arrived, the paramedics were putting a man on the operating table. They quickly gave me the diagnosis and said that he had gone into cardiac arrest. He was foaming at the mouth and shaking on the table. We wasted no time, and me and my team got straight to work on the man. And after about 10 minutes of trying to resuscitate him, our monitors showed that he was flatlining until ultimately he passed away on our table. It's one of the worst parts of my job when we aren't able to save someone.
I would have nightmares about that if I was working as an ER doctor because I would feel like I failed to save somebody. But sometimes you just can't pull out anybody from any condition that's life-threatening. Just have to let them go, unfortunately.
My nurses started to fill out paperwork on the time of death and personal information. Apparently, he was homeless. We could not find any relatives or family to contact. And when the paramedics brought him in, they said he was found in a back alley. It was heartbreaking, really. I was speaking to my nurses directly outside the room when the man had just died. We were going over the specifics when the ER door opened. To this day, I still cannot explain it, but somehow, some way, the man who had just died on my operating table was standing in front of us, fully alive, fully conscious, and fully receptive.
How is that possible? If the man was foaming at the mouth and you guys tried to do CPR and he flatlined, there's no way you could come back from that unless an angel decided to give him a second chance in life. That's the only thing I could come up with, but I'll be crapping my pants if I saw that.
He asked us for some water. We quickly brought him over to a table, sat him down in a chair, and then gave him some water. I sat there with him, baffled and stunned, and watched as he drank the water. When he finished the last drop, he put the cup down, looked at me, and said, "The river runs red with your blood." His body then went limp, and he collapsed onto the floor. We tried to resuscitate him there on the spot. We did everything that we could, but he ultimately ended up dying. I have never experienced something like this in my entire career. This happened almost 5 years ago, and I still do not understand his cryptic message about the river running red with my blood as he died. Anyone with any further explanation of that message would greatly be appreciated. Thank you for listening.
Okay, I'm mind boggled right now because the man died on the table, but then he came back to life just to ask for water and give some sort of message saying the river runs red with your blood, and then he just dies again. Like I said earlier, it sounded like an angel revived him for a little bit, probably just to give that message, and took him home to the afterlife. That's the only theory I could come up with. Man, that would be a crazy thing to bear witness to. Just thinking about it just makes my spine shiver. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on those post notifications for more spooky vibes content like this. This has been another successful installment of the Tin Man's Quarter Channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor. I say that's a wrap, and that's it, y'all.